I want to welcome you to this video Drasha. This week I want to spend a few moments talking about Thanksgiving. You know, I've said many times, I'm sure many of you have heard me say this, that Thanksgiving is definitely the greatest American holiday, and it is the most Jewish American holiday. It is Jewish both in its theme and in how it is observed. I think any one of us sitting at a normal Thanksgiving dinner, which of course we're not going to be having this year, so we have to think back to prior years when we actually did have Thanksgiving dinners with family and friends. When you think of large numbers of people sitting around the dinner table in order to observe a holiday, certainly it reminds us of a Seder table and how we observe Passover, that eating a meal is the main way of observing this holiday. And it even goes further than that, that there are certain almost prescribed foods that are part of the Thanksgiving meal. There's a traditional Thanksgiving dinner. Again, very reminiscent of the foods that are prescribed to be eaten at the Seder. So the way this holiday of Thanksgiving is observed has connections to Judaism. But the theme particularly, the fact that we as a nation have a holiday called Thanksgiving is a very Jewish thing. And it's works out very nicely that in this week's Torah portion, we actually can see the connection between being a Jew and giving thanks. Because in this week's Torah portion, we have Leah giving birth to 6 of the 12 tribes of Israel. And the fourth one of her sons is Yehuda, Judah. And she says specifically there, "For I give thanks to the Lord. This time I give thanks to the Lord." And that's why she called his name Yehuda, Judah. Well, the word Jew comes from Judah. So the idea of being a Jew is, as Leah says, "This time I give thanks to the Lord." The word means to give thanks. To be a Jew, that word means to give thanks. The word is the same root as the word todah, thank you. Modeh ani lefanecha, I give thanks to you. Modim anachnu lach, that we say in the Shmona Esrei 3 times a day. These words are all the same root. They're all the same root word. And so the root of the word Jew is to give thanks. And certainly giving thanks is a fundamental aspect of Judaism, because Judaism views the world as a good place. We have that in the creation story. After each of the days of creation, God saw and it was good. Judaism holds that the world is a good place, and we should be grateful for it. That's why before we eat anything, we make a bracha, giving thanks for the fact that the world provides us with the sustenance that we need to live. And we shouldn't just take it for granted. We should acknowledge it, to give thanks for it. And therefore we make a bracha before we eat anything. When we wake up in the morning, we're supposed to say the words, Modeh ani lefanecha, I give thanks to you, O Lord, for returning my life to me, to see life as a gift. That is, again, such a fundamental idea, and we're supposed to give thanks for that every single day. And as I've already mentioned in the Shmona Esrei, the prayer that we say 3 times a day, there's a whole section called Modim, to give thanks, in which we, again, acknowledge all of the goodness that we have. So that, to give thanks, is absolutely what it means to be a Jew. And the fact that we live in a country in which there's a holiday called Thanksgiving is something that we should also be grateful for. I think as Jews living in the United States, we really have so much to be grateful for. The fact that we live in a country in which religious freedom was built into the very fabric of the country. This is something that was unheard of any other place. And I've said this many times, and I will say it many more times, I'm sure. There never has been any place on this earth outside of the land of Israel where Jews have been able to live and to practice Judaism as easily, as freely, as openly as we do in the United States. It hasn't been any other place. And also the fact that we have achieved here a level of prosperity and affluence is also something that certainly we should be grateful for. And the way Jewish institutions have flourished in the United States, the synagogues, the schools, the yeshivas, the charitable institutions, organizations like the Federation and Hadassah, and all of these Jewish organizations that have flourished in the United States. Again, we should be grateful for all of these things. So I would say that even though we're going to have a somewhat muted Thanksgiving celebration this year, we should take at least a few moments to think about what we need to be grateful for as Jews, as human beings, and as Americans. So I'm going to wish everyone a good Shabbos and also a happy Thanksgiving.